Hey friends, it is Trisha. Thanks for joining me. We're going to have a good talk today, I think. I think we're going to be talking about something that everybody can relate to, no matter what your business, where you are in life. Hey, Christy. Hey, Kim. How are y'all? Are you seeing this message that I'm trying to show you? There's a little bit of glare. We're going to talk about this in a minute. The margin for victory between Olympic gold medalists and no medal is extremely small. This is just a piece of what we're going to talk about. Hi, South Dakota. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Melissa. I am so glad to be back scoping. I have missed this. Hi, Joey. I did some scopes last week in Mexico, but, this is kind of my bread and butter, the actual meat and the message of a scope. I want to come over here to this other page. So you're seeing this. The margin for victory between an Olympic gold medal and no medal at all is extremely small. My trip was fabulous, but I did come back with a Mexican cold. So if you hear me cough or if I have to take a sip of my sun drop, please, please, please forgive me. Can you read this? During the 2004 Summer Olympic Games, the margin of victory was, check out the margin of victory, 1.42 seconds, 0.59, 0.71, 0.13, 28 centimeters, 28 centimeters, 11 centimeters. Wow, this is the margin of victory for folks that got medals in the Olympics and folks that got none. So someone was separated from a gold medal by 11 centimeters. You want to talk about heartbreaking? It kind of comes down to when your team is playing basketball. Sometimes I'd rather get blown out than to have somebody hit a three-point shot at the last minute. That's heartbreaking, right? 28 centimeters. 11 centimeters. Think about what that looks like. Think about how small that margin of victory was. Wow. It's hard for me to even wrap my head around 11 centimeters or 0.13 seconds. Wow. All right, I'm going to flip it around. Hang tight. Hi. Super excited to be back with you tonight. Let me get my phone adjusted here. Sorry. All right. We're going to be talking about the difference between momentum and maintenance. So if you've never scoped with me before, my name is Trisha Edmondson, and I'm a National Executive Director with 31 Gifts. Absolutely, I love what I do, and I'm going to talk with you about maintenance versus momentum. We're going to talk about the differences between the two. Hi, Nightdale. And we are going to talk about how you go from one to the other and maybe some misconceptions about some of these. So as you're going through today, if you like what I'm sharing, remember you can always tap, 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 tap for hearts. Or you can share. You can go up and down if you're an Android person. If you are like me and you're an iOS or an Apple device, you can left to right. Swipe left to right and then share. So I've got a little book today that I'm going to be sharing some from. And this is called 212, The Extra Degree. This is an awesome book. If you've never read this, this was given to me by one of my leaders on my team, Kim Hess. She actually named her team 212 as a result of that extra degree. And we're going to talk about that a little bit, but we're really going to kind of dive deep into maintenance versus momentum, because this is something that I think there are a lot of misconceptions fall around, particularly the maintenance part, okay? So what I did was I kind of looked up maintenance in the dictionary to see what the definition would be. And as we all do this day and age, what do? We go to Google, typed in definition of maintenance. So this is the first one that I got. You know how when it pops up in a big block and you get the definition. The process of maintaining or preserving someone or something or the state of being maintained. I don't know about you, but that's kind of a stupid definition. I always told my children when you're defining something, when I was a teacher, you can't define a word and use the word in the definition, right? That doesn't make sense. So I kept digging. And instead of typing in maintenance, hi if you just joined, instead of typing in maintenance, I typed in maintain. And here's what I came up with. Cause or enable a condition or a state of affairs to continue. Okay, we're getting a little bit closer, but still not quite what I was looking for. So now I went to the big guns, and I went to the Merriam-Webster online dictionary, and here's what I got. This is more what I was looking for. To cause something to exist or continue without changing. To keep something in good condition by making repairs and correcting problems. Now that probably sounds a lot more like maintenance in my book. What we're going to talk about is not just maintenance and momentum and the difference between the two, but we're going to talk about, like I said, some misconceptions that fall around that word maintenance. And you know what? Everybody is in a different place in their life, whether you're talking about your business or whether you're talking about your life or your health or your work. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you want to maintain, and there is nothing wrong with maintaining. Okay? Nothing. But sometimes you want momentum, and it really depends on you and your personal situation. But the misconception that I see a lot with maintenance is people that want to maintain where they are. So let's say that they want to maintain their title in their business because, you know, like I said, I am in direct sales, and so I lead a team of leaders, work with leaders across the company. They want to maintain where they are. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe you have finally gotten to your goal weight. You've been trying to lose weight, and you've finally gotten to where you want to be, and you want to maintain that weight. You finally hit that goal, and you don't care about losing more, but you want to stay where you are. You have graduated and you've started your dream job. You're not really looking or aspiring for anything else, but you want to stay right where you are. Well, here's the misconception with maintenance. A lot of people think that they maintain by sitting still. That is not how maintenance works. Let me fill you in on a little secret. Maintenance requires work. If you have lost that weight and you finally gotten to where you want to be, you're not going to stay at that weight by not working out and by not watching what you eat. If you go and you get Janet Jackson abs circa 1993 and you hit the Pizza Inn every night, you are probably not going to maintain that goal weight. Okay? Maintenance, if you take nothing else away from this scope, maintenance requires work. I cannot promote to National Executive Director and then sit back and do no parties, recruit no one. That is not going to maintain me. I'm not about maintenance anyway. I'm always looking for momentum. And I'm going to tell you, it's not that big of a difference between the two in just a minute. But maintenance does not mean you sit on your laurels. You are not resting on your laurels if you are maintaining. Here's a couple other analogies if you don't like the abs. Me, before 31, I was a teacher. Okay, so I was certified elementary education. So I taught first grade for several years, and I taught second grade for several years. So in order for me to stay as a second grade teacher, what did I have to do? I had to take continuing education classes and keep my certification up. Am I right? Maintenance requires work. Same thing for my husband. He's in healthcare. He has to also continually take classes. He can't just graduate. Let me look at his degree and see when he graduated. I can't even read them. That's how bad my eyes are. He graduated somewhere around 2003. He can't graduate from school in 2003 and then never take any more classes and think that the anesthesia world's going to stay the same. No, things change. We have to be on top of our game. Maintenance requires work. Continuing education, it requires going to classes. It requires taking education on his computer. And taking classes. Maintenance requires work, friends. But perhaps the easiest analogy that you can put this with would be a car. Car analogies are so easy with everything. But if you get a car, as soon as you drive that car off the lot, it starts to depreciate, doesn't it? So as soon as that car comes off the lot, it's worth less than it was when you bought it. Which is why, my dad always told me, don't ever buy a brand new car, but get one that's slightly used. So as soon as you take that car off the lot, you're already out. But even if you don't drive that car a lot, maybe you live in New York City and you're like Jerry Seinfeld and you have 8 million cars and you just park them, in parking decks. That car, even if it's not driven a lot, that car is going to require maintenance. If you do not get that car into the shop and have the oil changed, and if you do not keep up with the manufacturer warranty and do all the things that your information tells you to in your car when you buy it, your car is not going to be properly maintained. You guys know what I'm talking about. And if you don't do the due diligence to take care of that car, what happens? You didn't get all your oil changes done, and you didn't get your tires rotated, and you didn't do all these things. You hit a pothole, and what happens to your tire? You didn't have your tires rotated, so they weren't even. One pops. You're done. You've busted a tire, you've got a flat tire, and it's all your fault because you did not use the proper guidelines for your car, and you did not maintain what you needed to do with your car. So maintenance requires work, okay? I want you to remember that. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about maintenance. It does require work, but honestly, it's not that much more work to achieve momentum. All right? So this is what I want to tell you about this. Momentum requires work, but I don't want you to look and say maintenance is this and momentum is this, because that's not necessarily true. You're going to have to work to maintain, so why not push a little harder? Why not strive a little further? Why not shoot for bigger and better goals? And instead of just feeling like you're maintaining, why don't you shoot to have momentum? And then you won't have any worries about that flat tire or what happens when one of the girls fall off my team, because I haven't been striving just to maintain. I've been shooting for momentum. Are you guys liking this? Do you like this analogy? Did you understand, and do you understand that maintenance requires work? It does. Every day of the week and twice on Sundays. You have to work, and you have to work hard to maintain. Now let's talk about momentum. The definition of momentum. I went straight to Merriam-Webster this time since I didn't like those other ones I was getting. Strength or force gained by motion or by a series of events. I like that. I think that's fair. Strength or force gained by motion or by a series of events. The secret to momentum, and I'm going to give you, in just a second, I'm going to give you some tips on how to gain momentum in your business. But the secret of momentum is that, honestly, it doesn't have to be a whole lot more work than maintaining. We've already established that you have to work to maintain. In my opinion, you really have to work harder just to maintain than you really have to do to strive for momentum. Because when you get momentum, when you have momentum, think about when you're driving or riding a bike. It's sometimes a little bit harder to get up the hill, but if I have momentum, when I come down on the other side of that hill, I'm going to be able to coast a little, right? When you're just shooting to maintain, you never get to coast. But with momentum, you put in a smidge more work, and you get that coasting that you're never going to get with maintaining. Here's some tips on how to make sure that you can go from maintaining or that feeling of maintenance to that feeling of momentum in your business. So the first one that I have to say goes along with one of the things we talked about on an earlier scope a few weeks ago. We talked about backdoor excuses and not letting yourself get yourself into trouble and make excuses for your failure. Okay, remember how we talked about that if you were on an earlier scope I did before I went to Mexico? So my first tip is get your head in the game. So much of what holds us back from achieving momentum is up here. It's in between your ears. It's the thoughts that you tell yourself and the things that you say when no one is listening but you. So get your head in the game and focus on the here and the now. Okay, we talked about that next play mentality on another scope as well. You want to make sure you are focusing on what you're doing now and what you're doing on the next play. You're not looking backwards. You're not looking at the past. The past is over. You're laser focused on now and looking down the court. That's my first tip. Because if your mind is not right, if you don't believe you can succeed, it's like Henry Ford said. Not Harrison Ford. That's Han Solo. But Henry Ford. It's like he said, whether you believe you can or you don't, you're right. And that's true. You have to believe that you can do it. And if you don't, that's the first thing you have to correct. The next thing you have to do, so tip number 2, assess where you are and then where you want to be. Because if you don't know where you are now and you don't know where you want to go, how in the heck are you going to get there? You have to know and you have to honestly assess where you are right now with your business and your life before you can move on to talk about where you're going to go next. The next thing, tip 3, connect to your hunger. Connect to your hunger, okay? We talked about the word why, and I really feel like the word why is overused, so I like to use the word hunger because it is what keeps you up at night when you're laying in the bed. It's that hunger. It's what you want to work so hard for that you're not willing to stop. You're not willing to quit when the going gets tough because you hunger for it. I told you when I first started, my hunger was being home with my son because when I started, he was 4 months old. He's in kindergarten now. So my hunger's a little bit different. But I still have things that I'm hungry for. I'm hungry to stay home and work from home so that I'm the homeroom mom and not the homeroom teacher. That hunger makes me come down to my office every day. That hunger makes me book parties. And that hunger also desires the same thing for the people on my team and for the girls that want to, do the same. So it's building my business and it's helping them do the same. Okay? Thanks, Summer. I appreciate your feedback. So that's the third thing that you need to do. Now, the next thing I want you to think about, and this is one thing that I tell my team a lot, and especially I tell my leader team a lot, because I feel like this is real important. I may need to trademark this. But consistency. Consistency is so important. And what I was getting around to that I tell my leader team a lot, I would rather you be consistently good than occasionally awesome. I want you to strive to be consistently good because occasionally anything doesn't get the job done. Me going into the gym occasionally is not going to give me those Janet Jackson circa 1993 Janet cover abs. It's just not. Doesn't matter how much chicken breast I eat. Grilled chicken breast doesn't matter how much tilapia I eat. It's not going to happen. I have to be consistently good. So what that means is I would rather you have one recruit a month than, go 2 or 3 months without one and then have 5. I want you to be consistently, say it with me, consistently good. Occasionally awesome does not get the job done. Okay? Consistently good. Don't believe, and this is the 4th tip. I think we're on the 4th tip. Or the 5th tip. I don't know. I lost my train of thought there. But don't believe it's all about speed. Momentum does not have to mean you have to do it fast. It also is not necessarily a number. Yes, success is a repetition of fundamentals. I loved at conference a couple years ago when Darren Hardy came, and he said the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is that the successful people get up each and every day and do the things that the unsuccessful people are not willing to do. That's a tough one, right? People don't want to do it. Doesn't mean it's hard, but they don't want to do it. So don't believe it's all about speed. Don't believe that you have to be the top at everything. But if you are consistently good, you will get the job done. You will get the job done if you are consistently good. Doesn't mean you have to go at a super fast speed. When I was coming up, when I was promoting, I did 8 to 10 home parties a month. I still do 4 to 6, and during this fall season, usually 6 to 8 home parties a month. Doesn't mean you have to do that. I am not saying that. But if you are currently doing 2, if you want to shoot for momentum, what are you going to do? You're going to shoot to do 3 or 4. It's just a little bit of a further reach than what you're doing to maintain. But I promise you, if you make that switch, you're going to have good things happen in your business, okay? So make that switch. Reach a little bit further and reach a little bit harder. And yes, don't be happy with the minimum requirements. How about that? That's the next thing on my list. Don't shoot for the minimums in life. There's a minimum requirement for everything in life. Don't shoot for that. If the only thing that you ever shoot for is the minimum is all you are ever going to hit. And this is something I've been telling my leader team for a couple years now. Several years ago, I did a webinar with another one of my NED friends, and we focused on this. If you only shoot for the minimums are all you will ever hit. Guys, you cannot focus on what you are required to do. That is the difference between maintenance and momentum. Okay? Focus on momentum, and I promise good things will happen. You know, when I was a teacher, I used to have a big poster in my classroom, and this was teaching 2nd and 1st grade, and this poster said, "No one rises to low expectations." Wow, let that sink in. And that was something that I used to teach those students. No one rises to low expectations. It's the truth. And if you don't believe in yourself enough to give you higher expectations, talk with someone, whether it be a friend or whether it be someone on your team or your upline. Talk with someone that can help you set some bigger expectations. Don't limit your potential based on what's in here. Those negative thoughts that are holding you back. Okay? Don't let that happen. No one rises to low expectations. So you see the difference between maintenance and momentum. It's really not as big as you probably thought. It's just reaching a little bit more. Reaching a little bit further. It's getting a little bit more uncomfortable, maybe, with what you're used to. But what we know is that good things come when you get out of your comfort zone. Here's a little information about that. It's from that book, 212. It says, at work, this is applying the 212. And in case you don't know, 212, that is the degrees at which water boils. Okay? So it's talking about that 1 extra degree between boiling water and non-boiling water. So here's how to apply that extra degree at work. Make the extra contact each day. A sales call, a customer, a brief discussion with a colleague, an encouraging talk with a member of your team. With contact comes opportunity. At the end of a year, you'll have opened more than 200 additional doors of possibility. This is what I really like. Write these words down. Okay? I wanted you to write down this. Maintenance requires work. Yeah, my phone's ringing. Things happen when you're on Periscope. I'm just going to ignore it. And I also want you to write down these words. It's Lowe's Foods. They're calling to tell me my food is ready to go pick up my groceries. And then some. So write these words down, and then some. That is a way for time management. Do you like that? That's a way that this is totally off the subject, but we talked on an earlier call about how I built this business and got to NED in 3 years, and I built it Did I order a bunch of chicken breasts in bulk? No, not a big cook. I built my business around 3-hour blocks for my first 4 years, and got to NED in 3. So I had to have good time management. One way that I do that is by ordering my groceries online and picking them up. So there you go. There's another tip. All right, those words, and then some. The secret to anyone's success is what I call and then some syndrome. The power of these words is captured in a short essay written by Carl Holmes. And then some. Sorry, now they're calling my cell phone. These 3 little words are the secret to success. They are the difference between average people and the top people in most companies. The top people always do what is expected, and then some. They are thoughtful of others, they are considerate and kind, and then some. They meet their responsibilities fairly and squarely, and that would be maintenance right there, that first sentence. But then we add, and then some. They are good friends and helpful neighbors, and then some. They can be counted on in an emergency. You know what's coming next, and then some. I'm thankful for people like this, for they make the world a better place. Their spirit of service is summed up in these 3 little words, and then some. So that's what I wanted to talk with you about today, about the difference between maintenance and momentum. And my hope is that you are going, thank you, it was nice to meet you at conference too. My hope is that you are going to strive towards momentum, because it really is not that much more work. And when you do reach for momentum, you will be in such a better place with your business, and you will feel so much better about what you are doing. And good things will happen. So thanks so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful to you. Remember that you can swipe left to right with an Apple or up and down with an Android. And remember these 2 things. Maintenance requires work. Remember, and then some. And then also remember that I would much rather you be consistently good than occasionally great. All right? Thanks, friends. Bye.